What's going on, everybody? So this is going to be one of those artisanmc streams, and I'm just going over the video that BGS did yesterday about the male animus, or excuse me, the male anima, and that was a topic I really enjoyed and really liked him to go into because in this space, the Black Manosphere space, work on your emotional or internal development is not there. We do look at things that have been through only a very masculine range, which is not a problem. But we have to understand, at least in my view, we have to understand that being a male is understanding how to balance all of that stuff together. That you have to be able to balance those forces within you. So one is not overpowering the other in a sense, but there is some sense of unity between them. So you can be the best version of yourself you can at an optimum level. Okay. You need both. And you need both when it comes down to dealing with the opposite sex in the world, dealing with them in your family, dealing with them if you have them as children, and being able to connect and actually successfully bond with children or mates or women that you choose to pick as wives. So one of the things that spun out of the conversation on BGS platform yesterday was about the Thunderbolt. And it was kind of far afield of the animal conversation, but I just wanted to drop my 2 cents on it and describe to you guys what the Thunderbolt was, because I was listening to some of the other brothers speaking about it, and it seemed they were getting it more confused with an immediate, lustful attraction and relating it only to sex, as opposed to it being more of a spiritual or energetic connection you feel with somebody right off the bat. Now, I felt this a few times in life. Luckily, I felt it a few times. And the reason why I know I felt it because it sticks out so hard in my mind, and me getting involved with this woman was so counter to my normal behavior. Right? And it's not just simping after a chick or just feeling like, oh, I just really need to lay her. And that's not the feeling. That's not what it is. There is such thing as an intense sexual attraction, and then there is another thing, which is just energetic connection that I feel connected to them. I need to know who that is. Right? So this one happens when I was in my early 20s. This time I didn't have a car. I'm still riding AC Transit on 8 Clara. If you're from the Bay Area, you know what AC Transit is. It's the public, bus system. And I'm coming from Hilltop Mall, which is the mall in Richmond, and I'm going to work. Going to work down in Central Richmond, 11 Center. And while I'm on this bus full of people, this girl is there. And immediately I'm keyed on her. Immediately. I barely saw her when I got on the bus. Barely saw her. But once I did, I could feel it. I could feel it in my fucking chest. It was a connection. And I sat there for so fucking long. I went and sat at, backup bus because, we brothers, you gotta sit at the back so you can see everything else that's going on. And I was just keyed on her. I was just really keyed on her. My goodness. And I'm watching her just sit there, right? And she may have made some small gestures to look back in my direction or not, but I was just keyed on her. I thought she was beautiful. I thought she was actually most beautiful thing that I had seen. And she shouldn't have been on that bus. She looked out of place being on that bus, not because she was dressed better than everybody else or anything like that. It was just the air of her, right? Just the way she was sitting there in that seat. In some ways, aware but oblivious to all this other goofy shit going on around her. And I was just so taken by that. It was just there. And I sat there and racked my brain while I'm going stop to stop, getting closer to mine. Because it should have been about a good 20 minutes or so on the bus, right? Thinking about what to say to her that I have to meet her. I have to know who she is. And going back and forth with the confidence part about shit, I can't do this on this bus. Not with these fucking teenage girls here and stuff like that. It'll be too embarrassing, right? It wouldn't be a controlled enough environment if it went bad. I've been the young boy trying to talk to a girl on a bus, okay, and having that go horribly wrong. So at that point in my life, that was the day. Like, yeah, we don't do this on the bus. We don't do this on the bus no more because of that situation. Yeah, this is not what we do. We need the controlled environment where it's just, you know, me and her talking, and then if it don't work, it don't work. You know, we ain't doing that public, you know, embarrassment part, right? But I sat there and tried to really, you know, strategize the way is I have to know who the fuck she is. But I have to get to work. I don't have time. And I'm thinking about all of this stuff. Like, no, we're going to talk, and I'm going to want to spend a day with her to figure out who the hell she is and find out everything I can know about her. And I just felt the connection and know it would be received. Now, the voice coming back to me, telling me that my efforts would be well received, is my animal. That's Selma, right? Before she had a name, before I actually knew who she was. That's what that was. Hearing that voice inside of me, like, no, you will be well received. That's who it was saying that to me. That's what my intuition, my internal voice was telling me. No, you need to get your ass up and say something to her. This is her. You need to talk to her. That's what I was hearing in my internal world. But the other side of me, the underconfident part of me was like, I don't know, man. This could be really bad in front of all these goddamn people, right? Now, as it turns out, I didn't seize the day. My stop came, and I had to get off the bus. But before I got off the bus, sorry, I got a call. 1 second. Braden is covering until 5 p.m. comma, then I'm back. Oh, sorry, y'all heard all of that. So I told myself what I heard because I couldn't figure out the best way to do this was, if it's meant to be, I'll see her again. I knew where the bus was going, sort of, but I knew I had to get off because I had to get to work, right? Bus came, I got off at the community center, just like, God damn, you know, kicking myself in the ass because I didn't seize the day. I didn't talk to that chick, and I know I'm going to regret this shit forever, right? So I went to work, met up with my coworker Mike. We got the kids together that we're taking, and we do after school summer program stuff, right? So we go over to Atkinson Village, and it's a little community near the community center where we work. We had a big field, and we could do flag football and stuff like that, right? So we took the kids over there to do flag football practice, right? And we're out there doing the practice or whatever, and I see this girl walking the dog over at that field. And it was her. It was her. Not a half hour later, it was her. Wearing the same clothes, baggy blue jeans, one piece bodysuit top, white, hair, dark hair, all up in a little bun, walking a pit bull. What do you think I did then? I told my buddy Mike, a coworker, right? I told him about the chick on the bus, like how fine she was and shit like that. And then when I saw her walking through that park, I said, that is her. Mike, I'll be right back. I seized the day that day. I went over and I talked to her. Found out the dog's name was Tyson, and me and her walked around for a good 20 minutes or so. I left the fucking practice. Mike's doing the practice. I'm talking to this chick. I'm politicking with this chick. We have a little parlay. Okay. Getting to know who she was. That chick ended up being my girlfriend for a while. Coolest vibe you can imagine. That everything just syncs up. Everything just syncs up. Now, sometime later, she is over my house. Mind you, I met her before I had my son. Right, so it's right before my son, 1920s, right? We had the coolest air. She is the one who set the standard for me, or let me in on what I wanted in a relationship in terms of male and female being together in the same house. Because my mother was just going out of town, taking vacation. So she was gone for a couple days. I had D come over. I had her come over. We sat there and played house for like 4 days. Morning to night. We go to bed together at night, wake up together in the morning, have breakfast, have sex, lay around, watch TV, do crossword puzzles and shit like that, word searches, because we had that in common. And we could share silences together. We could share silences together. We could just be together. Everything felt natural. It didn't need to be explained. If there was never any conversation about it, really, none of that. Even just looking over at her and like, yeah, she looked fine as fuck. I want to take that. She was down. We had 4 days of that shit. Now, eventually, we did end up going our separate ways. I can't remember what it was about. It wasn't anything fucked up, though. It wasn't anything fucked up. I just can't remember what it was at the time because she was a pretty chick, really pretty chick. The dudes was trying to get her. Latina. Nice chest, nice ass, thighs, every pretty face. She liked to sing, all this stuff. Cute little Heathcliff smile. all this shit, right? Well, as the story goes, I remember her telling me about some other dude that was trying to woo her. And this dude was a military guy, he was a Marine. And she was going to um, Marine Ball or something like that. And we fucked around, but she wasn't, at that point, wasn't truly just my chick, just my chick, right? And I remember hearing about the dude. Sometime later, I ended up finding out that the dude that she was into like that was my cousin. My cousin that I grew up with. My cousin that comes in the chat sometimes. Hell, yeah, it was his brother. They end up getting married years later. This was years later. Me and her had been friends, you know, sometimes fucking around with each other, sometimes not, for years. They ended up getting married. I was at their wedding. I was in the house. I was kind of pissed off. That was a hurtful thing. It wasn't hurtful, but it was a sad thing. But I was there because she asked me to be there, which is fucking stupid. But it's my cousin too. I can't not show up. Right? Tough situation. It was the first one like that. It wasn't the last one like that. Right? They had a child. Their oldest child was born on my birthday. They used to stay in my old house. These are all these connections that are tied to this one person. This person was a good friend of mine for a lot of years. A lot of years. It wasn't until the last 10 years that we didn't talk anymore because she got a connection with ex-wifey. Ex-wifey made some kind of connection with her when she was worried about her being somebody that I was just fucking against because I'm pretty open about some shit with people. She knew how I felt about her and how long we had known each other, the nature of our relationship. She just thought anytime we was alone, we was fucking. So she was insecure about her, so she tried to make, what women do. They try to get some inroads so they can, feel these people out or whatever. What that ended up being is ex-wifey used that as it's the narcissistic game is that they take away your support when you're in distress. Since this was one of my stated as one of my true friends that I could talk to and we could have good conversations with, when ex-wife pulled her bullshit, she went to them first. Got them on her side, so I had no recourse to talk to, and that's what fucked up the relationship. Because I found out that this chick was backdoor talking and having conversations with the ex-wife, and that didn't go well with me. So I cut off contact because it basically tainted. It basically tainted outside female insight. It did. Because then it means like you're lying. I can't trust you. You're lying for her benefit. So after that, I was done. I haven't talked to her since. But I can still remember because she's family now. She's part of the family. We have a connection to each other beyond, blood relations. How reduced it may be. We are connected by family, but we're also connected by the shared experience of we know who each other are. And that was always admitted between the two of us. We already knew who each other were. That's why we were always so goddamn good. It always could be. But that was that Thunderbolt. We had our time. It was over. It was very passionate. It was very comfortable. It just felt right. And, I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like could not be pulled away from each other initially when we met. And it was like butter as soon as we were together. It melted really well, really evenly. And the turnout about this is that I told you guys before about the one-way Thunderbolt. This one wasn't one way. This was not a one-way Thunderbolt. It was both. Because the conversation, that first initial conversation that we had, found out that she wanted the same thing too. She wanted me to talk to her on the bus. She wanted me to talk to her and was sitting there thinking about how she could approach, if she would approach, and how she would approach. Because everything's connected. She felt the same thing I was. I was probably getting her confusion and decision making, picking up on that as much as my own. That's why I was all that more crippled. My instinct was to go, and the other voice was, no, you can't. This will be embarrassing. Which didn't make any sense for me because I've talked to women in other places. You know, it is what it is. So that's a story about the Thunderbolt. It's very strong, very powerful, very, I cannot leave here without knowing. It wasn't sexual. The sex part came from actually making that connection. About giving it up and saying if it's meant to be, I'll see her again. And I saw her again. Quickly. And I did it. This happened at least 3 times off the top of my head. 3 times this happened. And each time it is paid off in the same way. That if I go with the flow, trusting some of this stuff to work out, they always come end up washing back up on mushroom. Now, just to finish this off and show you how deeply the connection is, while I was still married, this was over 10 years ago, while I was still married, I had a dream once about being in the car, driving through what looked like the deserts and the big mountains and mesas and stuff like that. And in the car was Dee. Dee was in the car, right? And it made no sense because I hadn't talked to her in a bit, right? Because she had divorced my cousin. She was living off in some other state or whatever. Right? Didn't make any sense at all. Woke up, I told my wife at the time about the dream, right? This is what image came to me in my dream. Some months later, I got a call that Dee was back in Cali. She came to Cali to visit her friend, got a car from her friend, and was driving back to Nebraska with the car. As it so happened, I had a bank account full of money, and I was out of work at the time. As a carpenter, I didn't have any work at the time. And I didn't think it was safe. I didn't think it was safe for her to drive all that way by herself when she has, at this point, 3 children, one of them like 2 or something like that, right? Back in Nebraska. I think that should be safe. So she called, and I offered to ride with her. I said, look, I'll just drive with you back to Nebraska, be safer. And then I'll just catch a flight back from Nebraska back to Cali. It'll be like a little vacation for me. It will. I don't mind road trips. I don't mind driving. I love driving and seeing places. And I'm not afraid of airplanes and no shit like that. Money is just what it is. It's just what it is. You make it to do stuff with. But I had to have her meet ex-wifey because I wanted ex-wifey to be cool with it, even though I'm doing it regardless. But I wanted her to be put at ease that, look, you know who this person is. You've heard about this person, but there is nothing sexual going on with this person. Right? So they meet, we end up driving, and while we're on the road, we go through Utah. And then going through Utah at one point, on this long stretch of road, and she's asleep in the passenger seat, and I'm driving, and I look off to my left side, and immediately I recognize the terrain. Immediately, coming out of Nevada, going into Utah, I recognize the terrain like I've been there. I had never been on that road before in my life, never. But I recognize it. I'm like, oh shit, this is the dream. This is the dream. This is the deja vu point. This is where it is. And I looked over at her just like I did in a dream and saw her sleeping the same way she was in the dream. And it come true. I was at that point. This means that the dream was not a dream. It was a forecasting of a possible future. The only part I didn't know is what happened after. It's like BGS was lining out. Your anima talks to you in images. Your dreams are just images, subconscious images, right? And that's what it was. But it gave me an image, but it didn't tell me the rest of the damn story. So I chose what happened from that point on. From that point on, once I looked at her, this is where the dream becomes the reality, and I picked the path that happens. And I woke her up, stroked her head, and I woke her up and told her I was supposed to be here. I was like, what? I said, I had a dream about this. Now, because we have this kind of understanding with each other, a spiritual relationship with each other, she didn't need an extra explanation about what I was talking about.